All right. I came across this article that was up dated or I guess posted today by this writer Michael. The title reads, "Will Anthony Joshua's mind be right for the Ruiz rematch?" And I was reading it and I thought it was interesting. He says Anthony Joshua's decision to face Andy Ruiz Jr. a second time with no interim bouts might be the biggest mistake of his career. And as you read the article, he compares Anthony Joshua's uh, immediate rematch with Andy Ruiz to Lennox Lewis rematch with Hasim Rahman. So I'm gonna be reading some of the things he said here with the Hasim Rahman. Lewis proved that an elite fighter can bounce back from a knockout loss by reversing the result in his next fight, as he did with Rahman. The potential problem for Joshua is that the scenarios aren't comparable. Lewis had a lot more experience than Joshua when Rahman stopped him in 2001. Two, Lewis knew he could bounce back from a knockout loss because he already did it against Oliver McCall. And three, even though both Lewis and Joshua were hurt badly by a single punch, what followed was different. Lewis was nailed by a monstrous right hand and the fight was stopped immediately, which can happen in any heavyweight fight. Lewis could say with legitimacy, hey, I got caught. Ruiz hurt Joshua with a left hook above the right ear in a crazy third round, during which Ruiz got up from a knockdown to put Joshua on the canvas twice. Joshua, like Lewis, never fully recovered from the original blow to the head. The difference between Lewis Rockman and Joshua Ruiz was that the latter fight continued for another 3+ rounds, a period during which Joshua went down and his confidence evaporated before our eyes. So, as you can see, he was like comparing Joshua immediately fighting Andy Ruiz Jr. to Lennox Lewis immediately fighting Hasim Rahman. Now, um, when it came to Lennox Lewis, first of all, Lennox Lewis was toying with Hasim Rahman. Okay, he wasn't taking Hasim Rahman seriously. If you look at that fight, he was literally laughing and smiling and doing silly faces at Hasim Rahman during the whole fight. And during that fight, during the lead up of the build up of that fight, Hasim Rahman was, talking a lot of shit. So I think he was acting this way because of all the shit talking that Hasim Rahman did during the build up of that first fight. So he was trying to like act like, look, I'm so much better than you that I don't even have to take you seriously and I could beat you. And then he got knocked out with the right hand. With Joshua versus Ruiz, that was a competitive fight. Even the round where Joshua got dropped, that was, he dropped Andy Ruiz Jr. I think what happened with Joshua was when he got caught with that hook to the top of the dome, he kind of never fully recovered. He was on Queer Street for the rest of the fight, in my opinion. Um, that's that's what it was with Joshua versus Andy Ruiz Jr. He never fully recovered from getting hit with that left hook. Let's say he would have got hit. Let's say he would have got dropped with for example, when he got dropped against Vladimir Klitschko, that wasn't an equilibrium shot, right? He got hit with a right hand right on the chin, and he got dropped. But he was able to recover, right? Because it wasn't like when he got up, he wasn't he didn't lose his balance for the majority for the next 5-6 rounds. It was just one of those shots where he got caught, he got dropped, but then he recovered later on. With this thing, with Joshua Ruiz, I think it was a case where he just never was able to recover. So if you look at him for the rest of the rounds, he looked like he didn't know what was going on. All right, and he even said in the interview he had with, I believe, JD Sports, he even told him that his body wasn't functioning. So it was just one of those shots where you can never fully recover. So I think what Joshua needs to do, that's why I keep saying, I think what Joshua needs to do in the rematch is avoid being up close to Andy Ruiz Jr. I think he has to fight a negative fight. Because what if he tries to get in too close, let's say Ruiz lands on him, the only way Ruiz can land on Joshua is if Joshua allows Ruiz up in his grill, up close to him. That's the only way. But if Joshua wanted to, he's much taller, he has longer reach. If Joshua wanted to keep him away from him, he could do what Joseph Parker did. He could try to outbox Andy Ruiz, and he could be on the back foot, really, or play the counterpuncher. and not really like engage with Andy Ruiz. He could play that negative style. Boxing fans won't like it, but I think that's really what he has to do in the rematch. I know that Anthony Joshua could hurt Ruiz because he already showed in the first fight that he could hurt him, right? Or not hurt him, but that he could drop him, right? But I think Joshua needs to just approach the rematch with cautious, just with a lot more respect that he did in the first fight. I think in the first fight when he dropped Andy Ruiz, he stopped showing him respect. I think he just thought, okay, this guy's going to wilt. I'm just going to walk right through him. I think in the rematch he has to be a lot more respectful of Ruiz's power, and he has to keep Ruiz at bay. And do I think that Anthony Joshua's mind right for Andy Ruiz rematch? I really don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Joshua keeps saying, he looks like he's motivated, in my opinion. He looks like he's motivated and he's ready to beat Andy Ruiz in a rematch. He's ready to get his titles back. He looks a little annoyed that he lost to Andy Ruiz Jr. Like I told you guys, I would have just preferred it if he would have had one fight before he fought Andy Ruiz Jr. Just to test out what he needs to do against Andy Ruiz Jr. with that opponent. But he, like Joshua says, he wants to immediately fight the best. He doesn't want to go backwards and fight these nobodies. So I don't know. I can't sit here and answer and say yes, Anthony Joshua's mind's right, because that, I don't know. Like, say he fights Andy Ruiz, and then say he's broken because of the fact that he lost and he's never the same. So I'm gonna have to wait and see December 7th to see how he performs. But I think that Anthony Joshua is probably going to be able to bounce back because he's lost before. He lost in the amateurs. He lost not only against Dillian White. There's other fighters in the amateurs. There's tapes and videos on YouTube where you see him lose. So he's felt defeat before. He knows what it is to lose. And fighters feel this happens to every fighter. Every fighter loses, and a lot of times they bounce back. So it's not the end. I mean, look at Andy Ruiz Jr. himself. Andy Ruiz lost to Joseph Parker, and he was able to come back and become a champion. So it's not the end of the world because a fighter loses. Fighters lose all the time. Look at Jean Pascal this past weekend. Jean Pascal has lost so many times in these past few years. He's been looking horrible. He's been losing, getting his ass whooped against Sergey Kovalev. He lost against Dmitry Bivol. He looks like he was on the slide, and then he pulled off this upset against Marcus Brown this past weekend, knocking him down like 3-4 times, becoming a champion again after several years of not being a champion. So these things happen all the time where they lose and they come back, they bounce back. So it wouldn't be unbelievable, impossible for Joshua to be able to come back, especially in the heavyweight division where if you land right, all it takes is one shot and the opponent's out of there. So that's all I have to say, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm out.